I have compiled a list of all of my setups, as well as the setups of Radiant Cyphers and content creators alike. This guide will contain some of the best setups, tech, and tricks known just over a week into Sunset's release. So this is the perfect primer to get yourself ready for when Sunset hits the competitive queue. With that said, let's get started. Starting off with attack, it's not going to take very long. The best tripwire you want to throw is right here, right at head height. It'll alert you if someone's pushing from flank. During this recording, my buy barrier is glitched, so you can't place it too deep, but if you place your cam right there, and then when the buy barrier drops, you'll be able to see anyone peeking through main. If they're holding an angle, waiting for you to walk out, you'll be able to see it when the barrier drops around start. If you're doing an A mid split with your team, you can also throw this camera from link almost on round start. You just need to be careful that no one walks up next to you because you will be exposed. So have someone cover you while you get that mid info. If for some reason your team locked 4 duelists and you're only Cypher, you have no smokes, you can stand in the middle of this tile, put your crosshair just a little bit above this object right here, throw it through the window. And what this will let you do is it'll let you isolate angles. You walk up, pop it, it'll deny any info on people peeking out of main. They won't be able to see if you walk up, so you can clear the close right angle or close left angle without worrying about being peeked from main. Moving on to some post-plant strategies and setups, you can throw a one-way cage right here for anyone trying to retake. Just bank it off the top of that roofing, and then when you hear them make noise, pop it and swing. Nothing too complicated about it. You guys probably already know this, but this green box next to me is wall bangable, so what you can do is you can throw a trip back sight, kind of like this one. It doesn't matter, anywhere is fine, but when they walk into it, you can spray through this box right here, and it'll give you a free kill. And of course, the moment we've all been waiting for, my signature one-way. A lot of people like to plant here. I have a one-way for it. We're gonna take the first charge of our cage and we're gonna line it up with this point right here where the 2 dark lines connect. I'll show you guys up close. And then all you have to do is throw. The really nice thing about this one-way and this plant spot is you can play it from either main or you can play it elbow. It doesn't matter. Elbow works a little bit better though because you are higher elevation, but as long as it's flush against the box, it shouldn't matter. Moving on to B site, we have this tripwire right here. Very basic. Can't be crouched under, can't be jumped over. And then standing on top of the green box mid, we have this early info cam right here. That'll spot anyone walking out of main round start. Or if anyone's trying to shift walk behind the box, you can call it out to your team. I do have one post-plant one-way for B site. It's a little bit experimental, so take it with a grain of salt. So the general idea is we're going to land our cage on this window panel right here. You can either throw it from this side, you can throw it from this side. As long as it gets on that window right there, it'll be good. Then we're going to plant our spike in this general area. We're going to try to get the spike as close to the wall as we can. When you pop the cage, it should look like this. And this is your one-way. It's a little bit hard to get the cages at first, but once you get it down and you understand the geometry of how the cages bounce and the throw arc of the cages, you'll get it. This one-way can be played from pretty much anywhere. I recommend doing it from main, but you can play it from B link as well as backside. It's just a little hard to set up. And right before we head into the defense side setups, I just want to show off these 2 mid cams. First camera's on that leaf I just showed you. You'll have to throw it when the buy barrier goes down. It's got a good bird's eye view of mid and it will be hard to spot if people aren't ready for it. And then the second camera is just right here above the A link cam I showed you earlier. It's a lot easier to spot, but it's got a deeper view into B door. Alright, let's get into defense. There's a lot of A tripwires you can use. These are the ones I usually use. This is my main tripwire right here. With this tripwire, this is a very good info trip. It denies the walk onto site, and you also cannot jump onto the boxes on the left side. You have to walk up the ramp, and this will deny that walk up. So it has to be broken either way. Not much else to say. It's a pretty good trip. Either of these 2 tripwires right here, either this one or this one that stretches onto site a little bit more. These are great trips as well. Throw a cage on the ground under the trip, pop the cage and swing out when they hit the trip. You know the drill. If you'd like to play a wallbang setup, there is a tripwire right here on this ripple in the tarp covering the green box. Stick it on that tarp, you stick it on that ripple, and it'll go from one part of the site to the other. And once they hit that trip, you can just spray through the box. As I said before, it is wallbangable with medium penetration weapons like Phantom, Vandal, whatever you want to use. It's an easy trip to play backsite with. Speaking of playing backsite, you can throw a trip right here in elbow, paired with the cage, and any of the tripwires from earlier, and then you can just sit behind the green box, throw a cage on whichever tripwire you decide to use. A really great early round trip that I like to use, especially on eco rounds, is when this buy barrier drops, you can throw a tripwire right here on this spot in the wall, and then throw a cage down immediately. It's really far up, so enemies won't be expecting it. And because the attacker barrier is so far back, they can hear the trip being placed, but they will have no clue where it is. They won't be able to see it. So you get your free kill with your ghost or stinger, and then back up. Alright, moving on to cages. Got a one-way for you guys that's deep in A main. We're going to line up these two edges and make sure they're flush together. And then we're going to take this part of our HUD icon and line it up with the line on the wall, just like this. And then you can pop it right away, or maybe wait a second, and you'll just see the enemy's feet as they walk up. I have another A main one-way cage. That is a lot safer because you'll be playing backside. You're going to want to walk into the middle of this box like I'm doing right now. And then we're going to take the middle of our tripwire icon, and we're going to put it right here, and then we're just going to toss. You can even pair it with a tripwire right here, and then that elbow tripwire I showed off before. Pair that elbow trip with its own cage, and this is what your one-way will look like. If you would rather have a one-way on elbow, I got your back. We're going to line up between these two dots, these two white dots on the ground. Right here. And then we're going to try to put our crosshair right under this texture right here. We are going to bank it off this corner right here. Going to throw our cage, and it's going to land on top of the light like so. It's very hard to get. This light is a pain because the texture is curved and not flat, so the cage doesn't like to sit up there. But I'm currently working on a better lineup. I just want people to know that this exists. Maybe someone can make a better lineup than me. I hope so. This is a pretty cool spot. Moving on to our A cams, we have a couple of hidden gems in here, but we're going to start off with this one. This is the one I use for getting early info when the barriers drop, so me or my teammates don't have to risk jump peeking and getting sprayed through the green box. For elbow, there's a couple really good cameras. In the same way we threw down the deep trip when the barrier drops, we can do the same thing with the cam on the other side. Back all the way up to backside and then pop in to see who's there. Or if you're feeling a bit risky, we have a semi-unbreakable camera. Let me explain. If you come over here to the boxes when the barrier drops, you can throw your camera over and behind the fence. The reason the camera is semi-unbreakable is because there is a barrier coded into the chain mesh. So if you try to just shoot the camera normally, it's gonna not work very well. But you can destroy the camera by shooting through the other metal parts of the fence and wallbang it. It's very unlikely that enemies will realize this right away, so it'll appear as unbreakable. Pretty cool, right? Have fun with this while you can, because it might get changed. For this final camera, we're gonna stand in mid on top of this wooden pallet, and then we're gonna take our camera, we're gonna aim it right here, and then we're gonna start jump clicking and getting it onto that shingling. This is gonna have a similar effect as mine that I first showed off, but there are going to be some extra little bonus sight lines that this camera gives that mine just doesn't. And that's it for A site. Alright, on to B site. Also, as a side note, I know about Acre the Dog's cam where you stand on the box to get a cam that sees into A link, but that requires the thing where a player crouches and walks into a wall and then you spam jump, which is a gameplay exploit. And Riot has stated in the past that it's punishable / bannable, so that's why I'm not covering it. Anyways, on to B site tripwires. We have the most common one you're going to throw right here, head level. Get it as close to the wall as you can so that they have to get hit in order to break it, or they have to pre-fire the tripwire before walking out. And after throwing that tripwire so many times, I accidentally discovered this new tripwire right here on this leaf. It goes down just like this, and it goes all the way over here onto the ground. Here's a better look at the leaf to see where it's sticking on. And it pairs perfectly with this tripwire right over here on the wall. Just like that, you have two tripwires ready to hold main. I guarantee you no one will be prepared to walk that far out onto site and then get caught by your trip. Very useful to have in your back pocket. And just a friendly piece of advice, if you are going to use that tripwire, I recommend playing in this tucked corner right here and have someone watch your back B door. Put a cage right where I put one, and then swing out from there, retreating to backside after you get the kill, because the placement is a little bit weird. Pretty obvious, but this is a good trip placement as well, right in front of the switch. And just a heads up, this info booth right here is wall bangable with Phantom and Vandal, so you don't need to walk all the way around to get your kill. For other specialty cages, there isn't much I have for B site. It's just this B main one way, which isn't a bad thing. It's really strong, and B is really easy to hold, so you don't really need much else. But to set it up, you're gonna jump on the small box like I did, and then we're gonna take our crosshair, put it on this point right here, and then we're just gonna slide it down like this so that the one way is centered and covers everything. If you don't do this last step, there will be a gap on the left side, so be careful. Once you set it up, you can play on either side of the pillar, just wait for them to walk up, then pop your cage and swing. There are some really nice cameras for B site. On either of these palm trees, you can throw your camera up high by jumping onto the big box. First one's a lot safer and it won't get a shot as easy. The second one will have a better view of B link and it's a lot easier to shoot from B main. We also have this camera right here that I showed you earlier. I would definitely use this camera if I was placing two trips on site or in front of main to show a little bit of presence, B-link. And then for our last B cam, we have this hidden cam right here. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Very generous view of B-link with a decent view of B-main. Some really nice camera spots on this site. Make sure you mix them up. One last camera I want to show you guys before I end the video. You probably won't be using this too often, but I think it's important to know. If you stand on top of this wooden pallet, and you do a jump backwards while looking up, you can stick your camera up here, and even if mid is smoked off by the enemies, you will still be able to see them walk up. Pretty cheeky little cam that can see their feet. And I just wanted to show you guys because I think it's really cool. Alright, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you think there's anything I can do to improve. This is my first time doing one of these setup guides, and I would really love some feedback. Again, sorry for my voice sounding a little bit weird. I am recovering from food poisoning, but I really wanted to get this video out by the time Sunset joined the competitive queue. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and go kick some ass. Peace! Oh yeah, and don't forget to check out my Twitch. Okay, bye!